Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with authentic, heart centered experts about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. Today, we are talking about menopause made easy. And this conversation is worth your while because for so many years, women have gone through the bodily and emotional challenges of menopause all alone. You want to be supported and validated in how you feel. And the more we talk about menopause, the more it's openly discussed in public, the more we can change how we think about it and how we're treated so we don't feel so alone and lost. It's time to find a solution and change the social taboo around menopause. I'm Linda Bucher. I'm a speaker and a master certified life coach. And after living as a chameleon and feeling like a victim for about 45 years, I finally discovered who I am. I connected with my passion and my purpose, and I reinvented my life to align with my true self. And because of it, I've become a happier, more confident, and more fulfilled person. But most importantly, that transformation resulted in me confidently unleashing my gifts to the world. And so my mission is to help you to do the same in your life because you have a rich, full life to lead. You have important gifts to give to the world. You have a splash to make. And for that to happen, you've got to do 5 things. You've got to know your worth. You've got to become clear on your purpose. You've got to harness your gifts and own your power. You've got to align your energy and your direction, and you've got to free yourself from all of those obstacles that want to hold you back. So if you want to talk about how you can absolutely do these things and leave that life that you're meant to lead, then, and of course, leave a legacy of positive change, because that's what happens. You can schedule a free 20-minute clarity session with me at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/free clarity call with Linda. So let's move on, because today I have the pleasure of being joined by Dilyana Mileva, the CEO of Menopause Support Academy, and she's making ripples in a really unique way. Dilyana helps women going through menopause and perimenopause to become happier, healthier, and more relaxed. So hi, Dilyana, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today, Linda. It's my pleasure.
Oh, excellent. So can you tell us a little bit more about who you serve and how you're making these positive ripples in the world?
My passion is to support and help women going through perimenopause and menopause, sometimes even after menopause, to go through to all these challenges, emotional, mental, and physical, to connect with their body and mind in natural way.
Beautiful. I love that you say a natural way. And we're going to definitely talk more about that as we go on today. Okay, so menopause made easy, right? That's what we're talking about today. So we've got all these challenges and the ripple effect of the challenges, because not all ripple effects are positive. So let's talk a little bit about them. Let's start. First of all, I would like if you would define perimenopause for our listeners who maybe have not heard that term before.
Okay, menopause, as many of you know, is when finally your cycle, your menstrual cycle ends. So it's the end of your reproductive years. It's usually around 50, 51, 52, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. But many of you don't know maybe that the premenopausal years can last decade, from 4 to 8 and even 10 years before the period stop. And many of women actually start these years in late 30s, early 40s. And many of them, they don't know that they start these hormonal changes and looking different solutions, and they don't know what exactly they're going through. And not easy, they don't have easy access to support in a conventional medicine, because if you're not officially in menopause, the doctors think just you're too young and doesn't give you any suggestions.
Yeah, that can be a real challenge. So that's great to point out that up to 10 years before we go through menopause, we are experiencing these hormonal changes, and these give us challenges, whether it's perimenopause or full menopause. These challenges, so now they can last, now we're talking 10, 15 years, right? And then beyond, post-menopause too. So today we are going to talk about, kind of give some education and talk about the taboo of why people aren't talking about it. And then we'll leave everybody today with what they can do, some actual self-care and awareness and things like that. So we'll talk about that. So let's talk about these physical. So we're going to go through physical, emotional, mental to start with. So Dilyana, let's talk about these physical challenges that women experience. Share some of those.
So they can start with weight gain, with disturbance of sleep, sleep issue like insomnia. They can have a low libido. They can have low energy, forgetfulness, brain fog, skin problem, hair problem, also physical hot flashes, night sweats that can interfere with the sleep, of course. Sometimes these hot flashes can be with the panic attack accompanied, and also a lot of anxiety.
Right. And yes, absolutely. So that's a big, long list of physical experiences. And I think I've probably experienced 90% of what you said. So it's all true. And I think people aren't aware that things like brain fog, can be a symptom. I think, generally people understand the weight gain part of it, and they understand, and we'll talk about the emotional part next. But there's some surprising things, So let's go to the emotional part. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, the emotional, it's more like mood swings. One moment you're happy, and the one next you're sad. One you can scream in your husband, the next you can bursting in love. So it's unpredictable. That can be triggered also very easily. So you're irritated more easily because you don't sleep well, and you can be irritable more easily. So anxiety, depression, very often that it's coming with depression. That's also related. Emotional, it's related with mental. But emotional in general is that you feel isolated, not understood. You feel these changes, you feel hopeless, helpless. You feel not supported even. So you feel the pressure from the work and home responsibility, and in same time going through these challenges. Emotion can be really roller coaster. Sometimes it's really difficult to get out. I see the positive side of all this.
Right. Yeah, our emotions pretty much rule our world. How we show up or aren't able to show up has everything to do with how we are feeling emotionally. And what's happening here is in perimenopause and menopause, we've got things that are affecting our emotions physically, right? The actual hormonal changes. And those are not something we can talk ourselves out of. If we're having these mood swings, that's part of this change. However, the mental piece of it that you brought up, this I'm alone, nobody understands, right? There's a lot of like, I can't talk to anybody about this. It's taboo, which, like I have to go through this by myself. It's private. When we start having beliefs like that, we are adding to the emotional stress, right? And so if we can be more open about this and have support system around us, then we won't have to believe those thoughts that we have to go through this alone, right? That there's nothing we can do. Because those are just thoughts. And that's my specialty as a master life coach, is to help people to shift their mindset around things so that they understand what they are in control of and what they are not in control of, and what thoughts are just thoughts and that are causing emotions and actions that are undesirable, and then which things are actually true emotions, right? We've got the ones that I talked about earlier that are actually emotional roller coaster caused hormonally, and that is not my specialty. So we've got this mental area that we also need to be able to take care of. We need to become aware of it, and we need to be able to do something about this. And when we have the support around us and we have more education, more support, knowing there's people out there we can turn to, then we can at least relieve some of the emotional stress by dealing with how we are showing up mentally with our thought processes, with our perceptions. So let's move to, you mentioned the workplace. This is another added layer of stress. I'm going to let you start.
Yeah, it can be very embarrassing when you have presentation, you present, you have meeting, and suddenly you have this hot flash, or you forget in the middle in your phrase what you're talking about. That can happen very unexpectedly, and for women can be really, really embarrassing. So how you deal with this kind of situation, it's really can dictate also how you feel around this, and how you can treat all this, and what you can do in general.
Right. Well, definitely make sure before we end our podcast, we talk about what women can do. So yeah, and in the workplace as well, that's where part of this taboo part takes place, because, we're not all that comfortable telling our male boss, I'm having these physical symptoms, right? It's not really understandable why women might need a little bit of a break, a little bit of support, a little bit of maybe time off, right? Because this is such a thing that, people in the workplace don't necessarily want to deal with. They're not aware that it's like a 15-year period, right? They're, especially the men, right? And there's really not things in place in many workforces to support women during this time, is there?
Yeah, that's because the main thing that can cause all this discomfort is the stress. And usually you are in a stressful environment, and in going through this perimenopause and menopause years, the stress can aggravate the symptoms. It is kind of vicious circle. And if you don't know how to manage the stress, that can how to balance work-life balance. And of course, if you need this space, you need to that our bosses, managers, CEO understood that you need a little bit more time, you need to slow down, you need a little bit more space to be more productive and to be more focused. Because if you don't have this space, if you don't have this support to really, if you constantly demand from us and you're going through this, no wonder why 68% of women consider to leave the work or career during these years.
Wow, that's a staggering statistic. 68% of women are like, that's it, I got to go, I'm out. They really want to get out. Yeah. And then, of course, that causes financial hardships. If we are unable to, I'm a solopreneur, right? And if I'm just feeling really low energy, which happens with those estrogen changes, right? I just cannot stay focused and get my stuff done sometimes. I have to honor my energy because it's not always fully consistent. I cannot work at the same pace and duration that I could when I was in my 20s and 30s. I still have a great pace, but it's not for the same amount of duration, or sometimes I need a little bit of break. And so we have financial repercussions as well, wouldn't you say?
Yes, because if you was the work, it can happen, or was the business, was the clients, because of how you feel. That's affect, of course, our income and how you all the financial support and budget and everything. So that's really something to consider, to how you can balance so that you have enough energy and you can serve in a better way all these people.
Right. Let's talk about relationships. So when we're running hot and cold, literally and emotionally, right? We can sometimes say things we don't mean, fly off the handle, cry over something that wasn't meant to really bother us. It normally wouldn't bother us, right? There's a lot of things that can happen. And then also the not feeling understood, that people aren't getting it because maybe they haven't gone through it, yet as a woman, or because maybe as a woman, someone went through it, but it was so easy. They're like, I didn't experience any of that. Or also the men in our lives. So our relationships can really be impacted by all these changes. It's a real thing, wouldn't you say?
Yes. And then it's important to speak with your loved one and your family, how you feel. Well, from day to day, from hour to hour, express your feeling, your emotions, so that they understand. Most of the men guess and understood that probably this is the woman change. They say, oh, you're going through these changes, but not completely aware really in which how much impact your physical emotional state. So the more you speak open and express your feeling and emotions with them, so they can understood better and give you the space, give you the understanding and support what you need. The other thing is you can journaling to express this emotion on paper, so that you just need to, all this negativity accumulate, you need to release in somehow, some way. So better in the paper than screaming in your husband or spouse.
Yes, and I definitely want to talk about that. But here's the thing also with relationships. If a man says to you, oh, you're just hormonal, like talk about a trigger, that is going to send you totally over the edge. Then you're going to just explode even worse. It's probably the worst thing they can say. So we want them to understand that, yes, I may be hormonal, but I still need to be validated in that I am actually experiencing this emotion, right? And so I might need a little space. So when I coach my clients about through improving the relationships, which is something we do all the time, I'm always helping them to understand where the other person is coming from, and to, before you even try to be understood, try to understand what the other person is saying. Are they really, like I say, offense is taken, not given. So are they really trying to offend you, right? But it's so hard when we're feeling these emotional hormonal imbalances to stop and become aware of, what am I making that mean? That's one of my very favorite questions I ask my clients as a coach. Well, this happened, that happened. I'm like, well, what are you making that mean? Because that's what happens to us mentally. Our thought processes jump to something else, makes us make something mean something that really wasn't meant to mean. So we should be very careful about how we take, and if we have this understanding that the person we're talking to cannot possibly understand, then we shouldn't hold them accountable to actually understand it. They've never been through it. They've never walked a day in the shoes that we have. So there's no possible way they can understand. And we should always keep that, in account. We should remember that.
Yes, the meaning.
Yeah.
The meaning that you give.
Right. We have to be careful of that. And then I love that you brought up journaling. So we have a lot of stuff to release. And what happens with the negative emotions is all those negative thoughts come flowing in. And those are belief systems that we have held for a very long time. And often they're subconscious. And our emotions are beautiful messengers, because we cannot deal with, limiting beliefs that are subconscious because we don't know what they are, but the emotions bring them to the surface. So these emotions are actually gifts. When we're feeling this way, we start journaling all the reasons we're feeling this way, then I tell my clients, just journal it all. I can help you deal with what came out, because what came out is just beliefs that are usually not true, but that's not my job to tell them it's not true. I help them to discover for themselves whether it's true or not. All these thoughts, he doesn't care, he doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. Like all these things that come out, nobody gets me, nobody wants me. I'm now I'm undesirable because I've gone through menopause, or I'm going through menopause. Like all this stuff that we just pile on that makes us more depressed and feel worse. That's a mental part of that. If we journal, like you say, if we just get it all out on paper, then when we're feeling better, we can read it over and go, well, can I know for certain every single thing I wrote down is true? Because usually the answer is no. And just by doing that little exercise, the next time, that those beliefs are coming at us because we've been triggered emotionally, we believe them just a little bit less. Like I'll have my clients measure, how true is this? When, like I'm undesirable because I'm going through menopause, right? And how true does this feel? Oh, I'm scale 1 to 10. They'll be like, oh, it's a 10. And then as we go through the thought work that I work with them on, by the end, I say, how true does it feel now? They'll be like, oh, only about a 6. So the more you do this, then the next time we do it, maybe then it goes down to a 2. And then, not too long afterwards, they're like, oh, that's not even true that I'm undesirable. I'm so desirable. So we have to do this thought work in order to feel better that way. So then in the future, it's no longer a trigger. It's no longer true. That's what we want to do. Get rid of the unnecessary mental triggers that cause us stress, because we've got enough stress to deal with the hormonal imbalance and with the physical changes going through in our body. So let's talk about self-care.
Yeah, you need to talking about release the negative thought and negative emotions. There's so many ways to do that. So I recommend that you find a hobby that you like, that you love to do. They find some relaxation activity more than to relax. So you need to balance the cortisol and other hormones. Be more in the nature. Create some routine that speak more to you. Everybody is individual. Have different preferences how to relax. The important is to relax and to reset often. Have this me time at least 30 minutes per day. And prioritize this me time, create this routine for yourself so that you feel better and don't overreact as usually you can do when you're triggered.
Yeah, very true. The thing about self-care is I think everybody knows that it's hugely important, that it really can help us go through almost anything, because when we're feeling overwhelmed and we're feeling like everything we do is for everybody else, which happens with women, when we're feeling that way, we recognize we need downtime. However, we have these beliefs again that, so-and-so needs me. We prioritize other things above ourselves, and that's always a belief system. And it usually boils down to this one big thing: I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. And until you repair your sense of worthiness, self-care can be really elusive. Boundaries can be really elusive. We truly need to know our worth. And I mean, know it at a cellular level, not like this cocky level, but a confident cellular level, because only then can we really give ourselves as women what we truly need, because it's nobody else's job. It's our responsibility to give ourselves what we need. So if you're unable to do the self-care, if you find that that's the case, then it's time to discover just how worthy you are. That is the answer for that. Let's talk about, we've talked about a little bit about self-awareness and self-care. Let's talk about acceptance.
Yeah. The more you accept that what you're going through, the more easy it can be. It's easy to say than easy to do, but really acceptance is the key, because you're going through this, it's an aging process. It's going through every one of us in a different way. But the more you take care of yourself, the more you turn toward the positivity side, the more you are aware how you feel, what provoke this feeling, this agitation, this overthinking, these negative emotions. The more you're aware, the more can manage that.
Yes, I agree. I remember years ago when I was becoming more self-aware, because that's the beginning of accepting. You got to first say, what's going on with me? And then you can become accepting. I put these little Post-it notes all over my house, and they said one sentence and one question. It said, "Isn't that interesting?" with a question mark at the end. So I could, whenever I saw the Post-it note, I would say, what am I thinking right now? Isn't that interesting? So just to become a curious observer, not a judger, right? We don't want to be judgmental of ourselves. We want to be a curious observer. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling right now? And what thought is causing that feeling? And that awareness is the very beginning. And then we can just accept and say, that's okay. I give myself permission to be wherever I am in this moment. So finally, let's talk about support. Support. If you're going through menopause, perimenopause, and first of all, we want you to know, audience, that you are not alone, that there is support out there. Dilyana, can you talk a little bit more about the support that you offer through this time in our life, through these challenges?
I offer a community of like-minded individuals. I have a Facebook group where you can join. It's called Balance Perimenopause and Menopause, where you can find different resources, different experts, specialists who share their knowledge and expertise to help you to going through these challenges in more easy way. Also through my podcast, you can listen to my podcast where different expert specialists share their knowledge and expertise, how they can help you going through this. Last but not least, it's my individual support. If you want to connect with me through my website, menopausesupportacademy.com, you can have this conversation and see how I can support you personally in your journey.
Oh, well, that is very beautiful because I think a lot of women would like a little bit of support. And I love that you offer it in so many different facets and different ways. So I will put in the show notes links to your website where they can take full advantage of everything that you have to offer at whatever level is right for them. And I also offer support in the mindset, especially in the I call it the worthiness repair shop. That's one of my coaching programs that I have, because it is the beginning of everything and anything that's good in life is knowing your worth. So I help women who are ready to see themselves, to truly see themselves and know their worth so they can get on with making a big splash in the world, whether you're going through menopause or not, right? But we are here to do something more. We are here for a bigger purpose. We are here to ripple positively in the world. So the more we can help ourselves and stick together and support each other, the better we're able to do that. So thank you, Dilyana. I'm so excited that you're on my podcast today. You are a wealth of information, and I really, really appreciate having this conversation with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda.
All righty. So once again, I'm Linda Bucher, a speaker and a master certified life coach. And if you feel stuck or unfulfilled or out of alignment or unworthy, I will help you to discover that you are the one you've been waiting for. And we can talk about how to get you out of your own way and back into alignment when you schedule a free 20-minute clarity session with me at bit.ly/free clarity call with Linda. That's our show. Please come back next week for another topic, you lifelong learners. And these are topics that help you grow and show up even better and more capable and more confidently in the world. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to click on the little bell that will remind you each time I release a new episode. I'd like to thank Dilyana Mileva, the CEO of Menopause Support Academy, for being here. And I'd also like to thank you, devoted listener and lifelong learner, for sharing your time with me today. Once again, I'm Linda Bucher. And until next time, make sure you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.